It's my pleasure to be here with you, and I will explain the open source software and academic library as a benefit and service, and I take a Galala University as a case study. At first, I want to introduction, what's the meaning of open source software? There is a many definitions I found for that. But the Eng Prosperous, he was the first one who established the definition of the open source. But all the definition I found is circular around source code, accessibility, usability, and free. This is the most things I found when I see the definition for it. Second thing, I was admire or I was make this research or this paper. Why is the purpose now for I do this paper? When I speak about the Middle East or the main region, we have a big problem for the fund because the cost for any systems is very high. And there are a big problem in funding and from the financial perspective. So I do this research to more explain why we use the OpenX source, not for the cost or fund, but for everything. And to export the meaning of open source, it's unsecurity, it's free. We can hack it. It's anyone can use it. Okay, I will explain that. And we have a comparison between the open source and the closed source. I put 5 different, I will speak it. Cost, service and support, innovation, development, usability, and security. For the cost, I will give example about the system we call this Symphony. When we speak about the cost for this system, it's around over than 150 Egyptian thousand pounds, 150,000 Egyptian pounds. It's very, very, very high. When we speak about Koha library system, it's free. You can install it. You can use it without no budget. You want to make an expert for do this installation, for admin this system, but we called about the human source, 1 or 2. How cost you will give him? It's not like 1,000 and 50, 100,000. It's a huge number, except especially in Egypt. In Egypt, we will speak about this number. You will go out. If you go to any university president and say, I want system for the library, it's budgeted to him over than 100,000. Go out. There's no budget for that. So cost in a free or the open source, it's very simple. Second, service and support. Both of this system give a service and support. But I have some idea I want to speak with us. In the closed system, who gives the support? The installation company. Only one who is give you support. If you installation Symphony system in your library, who will give you support for the system? NASIC company. Only NASIC company. But when we speak about Koha, there's something called Koha community. More than 200, more than 300 people who develop, who will give you any information you want, any bugs you will have, how to solve it, how to do with it. But when we speak about the closed, no. You can't change any data or any things in the system without get link to him and say, I want to change it. But in open source, it's up to you. You can change what you want, you can change. Innovation. I think it's important things in the source software. We can change in the Koha system with us. For example, in MENA library, for FUE library, for example, we put a new models in a system. We can upgrade the system. It was very easy. But if we speak about the closed system, how many developers that worked in this? 1, 2, 10, 20, 100. But in Koha, for example, I speak in Koha for the library system as an open source. There's many people who develop it. For the information, Koha was first established in 2008. We are now in 2020. Over than 30 system upgraded until now. So in 1 year, we can give us 3 systems, 3 upgraded, not 1. But in the closed system, it takes time, fund. For next, for example, I speak about Nasik. I'm sorry about the same company. They start with Horizon system, unicorns, then Horizon system, then Century. For more than 20 years. But when I speak about Koha, it's very simple in the time. Usability. Most of this system, we can use it. There's many data about it, how to use it, a manual from the company, how to use the system, training from the installation company for the closed system. But when we speak about the open source system, I mentioned that there was Koha community. Inside Koha community, you can find videos, instructions, how to use system, how to upgrade, how to solve bugs. You will find all of this in open source. Finally, security. When you speak about anyone, use the closed system. The first things he will say to you, open source system, not security. This is the first he will say it. We can hack it. We can make it down. Only for, I say, open source. No, it's not. For example, there is a sentence say security through obscurity. In Arabic, if there are here Arabic here, I will say إن بالعربية صعوبتها بسهولتها. It means source code of Koha is available. Anyone can say the source code. So why I will hack it? It's a big different to throw for system. It's more security with why closed system say it's professional security. Can anyone hack it? Okay, I was you. So the open source, it's open source code with you and with anyone. Hack it? No way. Why I will hack it? It's a source with me. Why I will hack it? It's a final, it's a top. So the security of systems for the open source more than secure, because what I mentioned is a source code is a simple, is usable. You can upgrade it, you can update it. There is more, as I say, a community, more than thousands of people around the world explain or secure the system, develop the system, face any bugs you have. So In this table, you found that the cost in open source low or nothing. In a closed source high. For the service, easy way from the community, easy way from the installation company. For the innovation, less time and fun. For the closed, take time and fun. For usability, easy way for the community and the manual. And the closed, for easy way for the installation company and manual. And security, I think, is good. No one says that the open source, it's not secure. Finally, about this comparison, we will find that the open source system is more than good than the closed source system, especially in Arab region. In the statistics, you will find that Koha has been installed for 3,935 libraries. For the Symphony, 3,400. For the academic library, as I speak about it, and the Koha, 2,100. In a Symphony, 2,000. I'm sorry, this is public. Academic, 700. Academic, 400. For the academic library. Immigrations, it's mean in a Koha, if you see their Symphony system, 248 people, library change their system from Symphony to Koha. But in the Symphony, you will find only 11 library changes their system from the Koha to Symphony. 11 library have a fund, they have a money to do it. But in Koha, all go to there. Satisfy the statistical of a report survey in 2022. When we see the median here for the all satisfied here, 8, 8, 8, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10. For the Symphony, 7, 7, 8, 6, 8, 8, 6, 8, 4. That means satisfied of Koha system have a good with no problem. Actually, in this statistics or in this comparison between Koha system and Symphony system, we will find that the Koha system used all around the world. As I mentioned, it's not for the fund except in America, they have a big fund, I think, many money. But Koha system has installed in over than 200 academic library in America. So it's not about the fund, only fund. Service of the system. When I write this paper about the service, I have confession, or I have things, mindset I want to speak about. User or the service user, not for the user OPEC or the user, only user for the system. It's a service for the admin, for the librarian, and for the user. Every three can use or can service and feature do it for the admin. If you want to change in your OPEC or in your website in the closed system, you have to go to the installation company and speak with him. I want to change, and they will change it. But in Koha, in the OPEC, only you have to use HTML language for what you want to do, what you want to be in the OPEC was very easy. For example, if you don't know the HTML, there are many websites you can use it. For example, W3 schools. You can put any data you want and change it for HTML and put it. I speak about things is an innovation or a development. And I mention is in Zerara models, I have input in the system. I put a model we say is attendance in the system, not out of system, not make a new system and generate it with the Koha. No, I put a new models in the system for the language. The big problem in Arab region, anyone speak with him about the system, is called how I can put the Arabic language in the system for the indexing and for the appearance. This is a big problem. Koha solves this problem and puts this link for it. That's what I mentioned. When someone solves the problem will be in the community and you can do it. It's not for someone, for everyone can do it. Second sense for catalog. Everyone here knows that we have a new standard, it's called RDA. When we change it from the mark to RDA, ASR2 for RDA, for the closed system, when I speak about Nasig, it takes 10 days for change the all records, 50% of this standard, not all standard, 10 days. When we do it in Koha, I am and with Mr. Ahmed, we will do it for 5 or 6 hours. It's only do a template in the system, an application template, and the system will generate this to RDA. For the librarians, in a cataloging, in system, it's helped for someone who forget for the 100, for example, put 1 or put 2 or put 0. They're generated or related it to mark bibliographic records and explain it for the report. When I speak about report, anyone mentions that the admin who will do this report. In Koha, no. Anyone can do this report because Koha community has made SQL report ready. Only you have to do, take it, copy, and put paste, and then run this report. It's not a big deal. In the closed system, you have to speak about the systems and the search system, and I want a new report about, and I want a new report, and all that, it takes money. For the user, because it's open source, as advocated over the closed source said it, no, anyone can do it in the open. Okay. We can put smart chat or a chat put with a click on the Koha, and this will help all academic stuff or all the students. It's very easy. Everyone know here EKB, Egyptian Knowledge Bank. There is in the EKB database is called OBICAN. OBICAN is digital or the electronic library book. OBICAN is in Saudi Arabia, and Nasig, the headquarter, in the Saudi Arabia. What is the system they used? Koha, not Symfony. Because it helped him to make here an electronic library and help user to have her account to do everything in it. QR code service in the OPAC list of OPAC, everything you can do it in the system. The another system I will speak it is about this space. is a digital repository. It's helped to put the academic research or the student project and helped him to know it. And this space, if you know their system, their site, it's called Web Matrix. In this site, it will ranking all university institution all around the world. And the first things that will comparing this digital repository. This space is the first one. So it's important for the academic library. This space can put it in any format, PDF, Word, GPG, any file you can upload in this system. For the interface, I mentioned that there are a big problem about the Arabic language. This space solutions this in Nagran University repository in Arabic, all in Arabic, OPEC in Arabic, data in Arabic, everything in this system with the Arabic language. It's not easy for the closed system. This space generated or indexing with Google Scholar. ORCID ID, I think it's the major. This space can do it. For the final, in this paper, I found that open source system is the most, I see in the financial way or in support of anything, is the best way for the academic library. And finally, I think that the open source will be in the future, is the future of the system in all fields. They are called the system ERP is called Odoo, but there is depending on one thing. We have to development a human resource technology to do with open source. I'm sorry for long time to me, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. It was a very enriching experience for these 2 days to be present at discussions, presentations, questions and answers. But now, at the moment, I would like to speak about the educational resources, about scientific resources from the point of view of end user. I'm director of the Center of Computer Technologies in Humanities. And my responsibility and responsibility of my colleagues is to teach faculty members, students, how to use these very, very rich territory of scientific resources, open source, open access resources included. Here on the slide, you may see the most used in Russia scientific resources at the universities. And I'm speaking about universities. To the left, it's the Russian products, Russian resources. To the right, it's foreign. Most of those resources are available, foreign resources are available at the Russian universities. The Russian resources are open access resources. They are available everywhere. Russian open access, Russian resources for research, they are of various kinds. The biggest project in Russia in scientific publications, in scientific research, is e-library. The first one there, scientific electronic library. Another type of available resources. It's digitalized repositories of libraries, the biggest libraries. We have special libraries. Library on the second place, it's public library for science and technology. It's open resource library. The Russian state library, the biggest library in Russian, and it is very useful for our postdoc students because this library has every dissertation that is defended in Russia, in any university, in any place. The dissertation is to be put into this repository, and it is accessible for registered users. It's for free. There are corporate scientific digital resources of the universities. University libraries in Russia now have digitalized resources, digitalized libraries, and they are open to everyone. It's also open resource. There are specialized digital resources of the libraries. For example, library of historical documents in St. Petersburg, not in Moscow. I don't need to travel to St. Petersburg or my students because it's available online, all the digitalized repository of this library. Or presidential library, it's another big project with cultural heritage. It's also open project. And last but not least, it's called Cyber Leninka. The new project, it's relatively new because it's about 5 years old, 5 or 6 years old. Online Sci-Hub library based on the open science paradigm. It is very popular now among our students, among teachers, among everyone. Why do we orient our experience, our attention to open access resources? Two main factors: financial restrictions for the universities. We do have financial restrictions for the universities. And in some last time, it's like a political restrictions. Maybe you don't know, but the LinkedIn is prohibited in the territory of Russia. I cannot access. So, and we don't know what will be the next cancel culture place. So we are preparing for any kind of situation. Why we are to prepare? You see, this is the slide from one of our librarians, Andrei Zemskov, Open Access, the Role of Libraries. It's a publication. You may see Russian language repositories by country. The biggest repositories are in Ukraine, Russian Federation, and Belarus. And it's really a huge amount of information that we are to use to incorporate in our research. Russian national open science projects. The first one is e-library, open access electronic repositories of libraries. For example, Russian National Public Library for Science and Technology, open source. You may use any item in its repository. Repositories provided by professional associations. We have professional associations, and they are preparing their own open repository of important documents. And other open access scientific publication projects, as I've already mentioned, the Cyberlearning or some other libraries, biggest libraries of Russia. Russian National Open Science Project, number one. It's e-library. You may see how it is developed very, very quickly. It was founded in 2005. It was from that time collected more than 4.1 million individual users from 125 countries. The library, it's e-library, it's a digital library. It has now, 75,000 journals in this library. The Russian language journals, it's about 80,000 and a half. Full text journals, 13,000 and a half. Open access full text journals, the most important part, it's 7,627. And Russian open access full text journals, it's about 7,000 journals. Most of the open access full text journals in this library, they are the Russian journals. There is also an open repository of books and manuals. More than 845,000 books and book articles. With the full text articles and books, it's about 3 million. Yes, yes. Total number of publication, you see, it's a huge number. And total number of publications with the open access is also very considerable amount of information. At the moment, there are more than 1 million registered authors, because authors are registered themselves in this library. I'll show why. At the moment, there are more than 4 million registered readers of the library. Well, it's a snapshot from a current one-time number of visitors. It's very popular, very highly used library in Russia, because the main treasure of the library is the Russian language publications. It's the biggest Russian language publications treasure in the world. And recently, this library has a joint project with the Clarivate Analytics in science. The project is called Russian Science Citation Index, or RSCI. At the moment, there are almost 700,000 authors, registered authors in RSCI. These are the scientific fields that are covered by the repository of this library. You may see there is RSCI Science Index with the science fields, and the more wide index of citations that is called REN, it's Russian, RINS, which is broader than RSCI index. Why our students, our faculty are using these indexes? It's very, very important, because using these indexes, we can find relevant journals where to publish, where to give our papers. I'm teaching faculty and postdoc students to use this RSCI index for the Russian journals. Another Russian national open science project, project number 1, I have already mentioned it. It is called Cyber Leninka. Why Leninka? Because there was a very popular citation of, oh, may I have it some slides back? Thank you. Because it was a very popular citation of Vladimir Lenin that is known to every Russian school boy or school girl. Lenin said, the main goal is to learn, and to learn for the whole life. Now, the Cyber Leninka at the moment has more than almost 3 million scientific articles. It's absolutely fully open access project. And you see that unique visitors per month, it's 6 million visitors. For a very short period of time, this project has become one of the mainstream in our scientific publications, our scientific information. International most popular resources in Russian universities. That's, I think everyone knows. I think it's general to any country. That's Google Scholar and some very popular sites provided by professional association networks, professional networks. Our students, master students prefer Mendeley, and postdocs and faculty members prefer ResearchGate. Corporate open access resources. We have at our university, it's a building of the library of Moscow State University. We have a special corporate open access project. It is called, it's in Russian, it's Istina. Istina means verity. And it is intelligent case study system for scientometric data. Every employee of our university annually puts into this database every publication that has been in the year, every presentation at the conference, every book, if there was a book. It's a database where all the employees of the university are annually putting their achievements. And it is open access, public available, and it's searchable for students, searchable for anyone. There is an example of a first page of one of them. Employees from my center. You see that it's automatically picks up information from researcher ID, Scopus author ID, ORCID. So there is the full information about activity of this very employee. What is also very important, it is not mandatory to put full text. It is, well, optional to put full text, but at any moment, there is the possibility to email to the author, you see it, and ask. And I know that many postdoc students are emailing and asking, well, I'm working on this or that problem. Could you please give me for my personal use, for educational purposes, the full text of this paper? The project at our university. It's corporate. I call it corporate project. Exists about 5 years, and you see that a master thesis at the moment within this database of our university is 100 more than how to use it, because every repository might have its own regulations, its own interface, and we are done special courses how to use, so-called how to use, provided by various open source repositories, because we are working with open source repositories worldwide. We have elaborated some training courses integrated into university program. It's part of university programs, mandatory part of university program for faculties and for postdocs. And then we are encouraging using professional networking capacities, so-called wisdom of crowd. It is really very useful. Here is the tech cloud of the text of one of our programs. It's new informational competences of the teacher and researcher in the modern university. It's 36 hours in the auditorium, in room, and 36 seminars, 36 hours of homework. You see that if we are using this this web page, voyantools.org, it's a kind of AI analysis of a text. So our program picks up keywords of the semantic field of this program, and then we are checking whether these keywords are helping to reach our educational goals. That's all. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. I know that we are all getting ready to pack our bags and baggages, so I need to complete as soon as I can. I don't want to take much of your time. For last 2 days, what we were discussing about the scope of openness, pros and cons of open science, open access, open data. So we came to the conclusion that this movement is definitely going to happen. It's already happened, so it is going to happen. But what we have forgotten actually is the role of librarians. What should be the role of librarians in this process? Because we are the librarians actually started this movement in the beginning. Assessing the data, assessing the research output has been started by the librarians. So a tribute to librarians should be always a good idea by end of the session, I think. So I'll start with a great quote by late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. He's the founder of United Arab Emirates and he's the founder of UAE University where I'm working now. He says that he who does not know his past cannot make the best of his present and future. So therefore my starts now. Till the beginning of 20th century, publication was not a big deal for the scientists and researchers. They were much concentrating on what? They're concentrating on providing something to the world, discover something, do something for the world. But when the beginning of 19th century, they forced to publish their outcome for the purpose of royalties, and they were very much concerned about copyright and the prestige. This kind of issue was in front of them. They were not bothering about citation or anything. They were just publishing for the royalty purpose. And By that time, more and more publishers get into the scenario. It's become more commercialized. So it forced to publish more and more research output that leads to some sort of analysis that is being started by the librarians, because librarians are really under pressure to accommodate every research output. Then they start to think about what to accommodate in our libraries. So if the quantitative analysis, this is called quantitative, and they analyze the quantity of research output. So we have to mention three prominent persons. There are most of them are librarians. In fact, especially Samuel Bradford, he's a librarian. He is started to analyze the collection in his library, because you already have the data. What librarians were doing at that time, it's called cataloging and classification. Means they were providing some sort of documentation of their collection that is easy for the community to analyze what is inside the library. So the librarians already have a data. So Samuel Bradford had started analyzing the data in his library in such an interesting way that he looked into that in a given topic, how many journals are publishing more journals, because the journal in a given topic, the concentration of articles available are different. Maybe in some journals are a lot of articles on a particular subject is there. So he is arranged them in a way that scattering way, like, the productivity of given topic. Then he analyzes, he categorizes into zones. The top zone called nucleus having more articles on a particular topic. That was very easy for the librarians actually. So the librarians can just select those journals for that particular topic. And because we know that anything constantly observed, then it becomes a law. But his equation was 1:A squared. Means if you have 10 core titles, then the next one is A, anything 9, for example, the other one be 9 squared. So that's how the subject is scattered. George Zip, he analyzed the collection of the library collection in a different way. What he has done, he handpicked the keywords of the title available. For example, we can say the risk of cardiovascular surgery among what you call risky patient or something like that. So he handpicked those keywords, risk, cardiovascular, patients, and he saw that there are so many times these keywords are appearing on the paper. Then he saw the frequency, how many times keywords are appearing in the on the paper, and he formulated a formula like frequency is inversely proportional to 1/r. So what it leads actually, it leads to that the keyword, there should be some keywords in every article. Keywords are very, very important. That is the contribution of George Zip. Alfred Lodka is analyzed the collection in a different direction. That's about author. He saw that if in a particular topic, some authors are contributing 1 article, some authors are contributing 2 articles, some are contributing more than 2 articles, and we know the number of authors contributed 1 article, it is easy to find the number of authors contributed 3 articles, 4 articles, 5 articles by this law. So all these are about quantitative analysis. The real champion who started qualitative analysis is Eugene Garfield. You might be knowing, he's considered as the father of bibliometrics. What he is started, he has been appointed as a leader of a project by Welsh Medical Indexing System to identify the key subject headings for medical subject. This later become Index Medica, you know that. So they identified more than 30,000 subject headings for the field of medicine. He is not a librarian actually, he is a pharmacist, but he's so inspired by this project, and he became postgraduated in the field of library science. Later, he set up a institute called Institute of Science Information, started analyzing the quality of research output. The first citation index is telling how many times this research output is being reused, cited in other papers. That is actually a quality. Quantity is not very important. Quality is important because more and more researchers started giving output. Later, social science cited index is published. Ultimately, eventually, it is lead to Web of Science. Still, we are using Web of Science as a tool to analyze the quality of materials. We know that there are so many other tools like Web of Science, Scopus, and Google Scholar. So what actually these tools are analyzing, they're analyzing the research output in 4 levels. Individual scholar contribution, I'll let you know what it is: venue of production, individual scholarly communication, institution level, etc. If you take the individual scholarly contribution, it is about the method of research output. It can be anything. It can be an article. It can be a presentation like this. It can be a theater. So the what we are contributing in which ways can be anything. Then it analyzing how many times an article is cited, how many people are attending the conference, the size of the conference is some sort of analysis, right? That is called individual scholarly contribution. When you take the venue of production, where it appears, mainly journals, because we are talking about article. Journal is, of course, is land page for any research output. Otherwise, the place where the conference is taking place, if it is taking place in a village, it may not be counted, but it will be taking place in a metropolitan city or in somewhere most of the scientists or researchers are attending, that will be considered as a big venue. And author level metrics, these are the third level of metrics. How author is important in the field in sense of quality. If an author producing highly cited articles, he is considered as one of the pioneer, right? H index is more, you might be knowing because you're all having library background, you know what is H index is. I'm publishing 10 papers. Out of 10 papers, 2 papers are having 2 citations each. My H index is 2. If all the 10 papers having 10 citations each, my H index is 10. That means I'm one of the best research publisher. The most critical one is the group and institutions. Now more and more institutions are under pressure to show the credibility by, it is pressure from the government and research fund authorities, like, you know, because we have to show what, for what we invested. The ranking is a big challenge for every institution. All are thriving for improving their ranking. To improve the ranking, the quality output must be there. So most of the institutions are facing challenges here to improve their for their ranking. So that's another type of analysis. Then comes the criticism as why only citations are counted. There should be other ways to count the value, the quality of output. That is called bibliometric and social media metrics. If I publish a paper, okay, maybe it has been cited 3 times, but there are so many other mentions by social media. It can be Twitter, it can be Facebook, it can be criticism even, but the mentions and, you know, that what is the indication is it is being viewed by the people. So that is quite important. So social media metrics also. That there are so many other tools available to analyze the metrics. Like altmetric.com, everyone knows that, and other Plum Analytics, Impact Factory. So these are all some sort of the latest social media and mostly the internet age. This kind of analysis is very common nowadays. Then the problem with authors, because in order to get view, it should be open. The visibility must be there. Most of the publishers are close to one, they are subscription based. So the article, the research outcome is not reaching to the exact people. There should be visibility. So that is why the cry for openness. So people start publishing open access more and more nowadays, that based thinking that they should be reached to many people. There are some support to get, especially the institutions, they wanted to improve their ranking. They are supporting to provide more and more open access publications. So the final word, the metrics and open access are interconnected. And I'm going back to my beginning, where the librarians can play a role here. We are slowly getting out of the field. So the libraries must be the center of place for any open science or open research, because the library who is holding the entire data, the librarians who is having good connection with end users and the publishers. So library should be the center place for openness. Thank you so much.
I was wondering if you could tell me a bit more about the relationship between the political situation, or like how websites are often blocked in Russia, and then the importance of the open access resources. Is it that you need to provide resources from within because external sites are blocked? I just didn't totally understand that connection.
Okay, thank you for the question, because it's really a great concern that we have now. It's unpredictable sometimes, but the situation is like this. There are some conferences, for example, we have sent our publication to the conference to be held in Malaga this September, and then the site was not accessible from the Russian territory. Absolutely no access. There are some open access databases that are impossible to open now from the Russian territory. The only way is to use VPN, but VPN is not legal. So that's why the open access repositories are very important, because I said, I'm trying to give how we are working from the end users perspective. We are to teach students and faculty. We are to find a way to get access to the relevant information, because it's our duty and our responsibility. That's why we are seeking for various paths.
Thank you very much. Is there another question? I actually have a question for Dr. You mentioned about the university, every faculty member has to showcase what they've done. I've used the word have to, but I'm asking you, is it mandatory? Is it something that is a requirement for every faculty member, or something which is desirable?
Okay. Well, thank you again for the question. I didn't have enough time to give in details how to work this system. The system is relevantly new, about 6 or 7 years that is working. Every member of a university annually is to put achievements of the year's achievements into the system. Why? Because the contract time for the person depends on his or her work, whether it will be a contract for 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. So that's how it works, and it does work. Yes, exactly. But what depends, it's the period of time with the contract. Now it's because every 5 years we have a concours. We are to compete for this place, and these very KPIs are important, whether we'll be working for 5 years or for 3 years.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, then I'd like you to thank our panelists and our final panelists of the forum. Thank you so much for all the insights. And like I said before, we've got lots to take away, lots to learn. Okay, thank you so much.